Hey humans! This guy's date went from awkward and lame to what the hell is happening in the bathroom in record time. The twist at the end will leave you wondering if the dude is a genius or a psycho. You tell me.
Okay, so I have been a bartender and a waiter over the years and have witnessed a couple of really sad first dates, a couple crazy ones, and one that was just brutal. This one was definitely the most shocking date I saw. This good-looking dude struts into the bar. He's fit, clean-shaven, kind of looked like a young Jim Cantori from the Weather Channel, but younger and slimmer. Sitting at the bar going on about how he had a date with this girl that his best friend was crushing on hard, that his friend just refused to ask her out because she was into him instead. He was really getting into the backstory when she walked in. Dude clams up like someone tasered him. She was by anyone's standards damn good looking and slaying it in a little black dress and high heels. It was like a moment where the model walks in the room, a fan's blowing her hair and skirt, and the whole world stops for a moment to watch her walk in. Anyway, she comes up and does the little kissy-huggy greeting, and she orders a tequila shot with a lime. He does one with her, and they banter about getting that out of the way and move into a little more intense banter, and out of the blue this dude whistles at me.
Yo man, more shots.
I was disappointed. He seemed like a nice guy. So I went to pour him a shot and let him know I'm not a dog. He doesn't need to whistle to get a drink. Dude slurs back.
Sure, man. No worries, just keep an eye out. We're gonna get lit.
During a break I took, his hottie hopped up to go to the ladies' room. When she gets back, he whistles at another bartender again and shouts,
Hey man, where are my shots? Pronto!
This guy starts just hammering down shots of tequila. He had 5 back-to-back. It wasn't really the craziest thing I've seen, but he was drinking them pretty damn quick, like they just vanished. His date only did the one and was sitting there sipping wine, looking so embarrassed to be with him. The dude, let's just call him Yo Dude, starts to get a bit sideways. He starts getting loud, laughing at his own jokes, talking over the girl every chance he gets. He then announces that he has to whiz on a rock and walks to the back. The girl looks mortified and sad.
I am going whiz on a rock.
His date is clearly uncomfortable. Her expression signals regret, a non-verbal cue that even I can decode. But Yo Dude's 5 shots deep and needs to whiz on a rock, whatever that means.
Then I hear him in the back being noisy. At this point, the whole bar was thoroughly mesmerized and probably pretty amused at how ridiculous of a scene this guy was making. Out he comes. At this point, Yo Dude is totally unaware of the rest of the bar, and he comes out with another guy practically carrying him back to his seat. Yo Dude continues to help him walk back to the bar. Yo Dude sits the guy down and then takes a seat next to him. Irresponsibly drunk, Yo Dude starts talking to different girls at the bar, completely ignoring his date. To terrify her even further, he gets up and says something out loud to the other girl about gay people, then stumbles his way outside. His friend follows quickly after him, and the girl is left at the bar alone, obviously uncomfortable and confused. 5 minutes later, the friend walks back in and sits down to have a drink with her. I heard him say that he put intoxicated dude in an Uber and sent him home. Then they get up to go to the restaurant where the hot girl and drunk dude were supposed to have the original date. His friend just hopped in and took Yo Dude's place. I honestly thought, hell yeah, good for you, man. About 30 minutes later, Yo Dude walks back in, sober as the day he was born. Now, I was the one so confused. He sits down, waves me over, and apologizes for whistling at me. Then he gives us $20 and buys us a shift drink for both of us bartenders for after we get off. Since I was off at that point, I sat down to have mine with him. Yo Dude lets me in on his game. He did it all for his friend.
Such a curious concept. Self-sacrifice for the sake of a friend. Yo Dude has orchestrated a masterful plot, earning admiration from the bartenders, and perhaps a lifelong bond with his friend.
His friend had the hots for the girl, and Yo Dude said he got tipsy, half intoxicated as he was acting, and played the fool so he could call his friend to come save the day. Yo told me,
He's a better man than me, I'm just his wingman. They make sense together. Besides, she's really just not my type.
I think I understand. Relationships are tricky, aren't they? When playing the ultimate wingman, apparently the best solution is to act like you're drunken frat boy so your best mate can swoop in and play the hero. Fascinating. Speaking of questionable date decisions, what happens when a guy doesn't just bomb the date, but straight up ditches it and leaves someone else to deal with the fallout? Oh, humans, this one is going to sting. Let's dive in. The next story unfolds at a steakhouse, where a blind date becomes a masterclass in graceful revenge.
I was working a dinner shift at a steakhouse when I saw this blind date crash and burn in the most bizarre way. I'll never forget the guy or the line he dropped at the end. So, this couple walks in, well, I say couple, but something felt off from the start. He was a bigger guy, clean and put together, but his date is way out of his league. She wasn't just pretty. She had that kind of attitude that screamed, "I don't want to be here." The guy, though, seemed nice enough. They get seated, and I take their orders. While they're waiting for their food, he's doing his best, asking questions, trying to keep the conversation going. But she's just glued to her phone. I'm talking girl's got zero interest. She'd look up, toss out a quick 2-word reply, and go right back to scrolling. I felt bad for the guy. But what happened next confirmed for me that just because a lady is good looking doesn't mean she's a good person. The food comes out, I set her plate down, and she picks it up. Like, literally grabs her food, stands up, and walks over to another table where her friends are waiting. No explanation, no be right back, nothing. She just leaves him sitting there. I don't care how hot you are, whether you're at a 9 or a 10, I felt for this man. The disrespect of this woman was outrageous. Dude looks at me, blinking like he can't believe it either, then waves me over.
Separate checks.
Smart move. I split the bill, and he pays for his meal without making a scene. Meanwhile, this girl is living it up with her friends, ordering drinks, laughing, the whole deal. I'm keeping an eye on them because honestly, at this point, I'm invested. About an hour later, she struts back to his table like nothing happened. She says she's ready to go, and I bring over her check, over $100. She smiles, pushes it toward him, and says,
"You're paying."
I'm watching this go down, half expecting him to cave, but nope. He pushes the check right back and stands up. Then, with the calmest voice ever, he drops the line of the night.
"I've had a lovely time tonight. I hope you have the best of luck paying your tab and finding a ride home that doesn't involve a police cruiser."
Bravo, sir. Sometimes the most powerful weapon is a perfectly delivered exit line.
She just sat there stunned, no backup plan in sight. Honestly, I didn't feel bad for her at all. I swear the whole section went quiet watching her face drop. There was a true sense of justice in the air. Before he left, the guy tipped me $20 and said,
"Thanks, man. You're the real MVP tonight."
There's something so amusing to know that this entitled Karen would have that thing called karma slap her in the face so fast. I have to share with you another tale I found from an anonymous Redditor who witnessed a spoiled brat lose all financial support from her daddy after her outrageously rude reaction to her date.
I'm a bartender in a college town, so I've seen my share of chaos, but what happened last Wednesday was brutal. The bar was slow when this couple came in. They weren't students. I don't mean to sound judgy, but everything about them made that clear. I checked IDs, and it turned out it was the guy's 21st birthday. I offered them a discounted round, had a quick drink with them, and we got to talking. They were nice enough, small-town folks just visiting friends in the area. But as the drinks kept coming, things got weird. The girl started eyeing me in a way that screamed trouble. She called me over constantly, blatantly flirting right in front of me. The guy didn't say much, just sat there glaring into his drink like he was holding it together by a thread. He went from calm and happy to visibly sad. His demeanor changed. What seemed to be a nice outing turned into him becoming the theoretical punching bag for this biatch. At one point, he went to the bathroom and she immediately pounced on me. She asked if I could take a picture of her in front of this famous mural we have. It's a big deal for students, so I didn't think much of it. I walked her across the dance floor, snapped a few photos, and as I handed her phone back, here comes the guy, walking out of the bathroom, and then she does it. She looks at him, smiles, and goes,
"Oh, good. Can you take a picture of us together?"
He looked like he'd rather die, but he agreed. She wraps her arms around me like full-on boyfriend mode, and I just stood there like a damn prop. I felt awful for the guy and embarrassed I was being used as a tool to hurt him. But that wasn't the worst of it. Back at the bar, she starts talking, loudly, about her ex. She goes on about how posting a picture with me will definitely make him jealous. Immediately, the guy gets up and I just knew he was about to cry. I followed him into the bathroom and can see the tears. He looks at me and shakes his head, silently whispering, "Please leave me alone." It hit hard. I felt so bad for him. I walked over to my bouncer to let him know this was heading south fast. A few minutes later, the guy comes back out, still trying to hide his dried up tears. She looks at him, finally notices he's upset, and asks if he wants to leave. He nods, and right when I thought it was over, she turns to me while this guy's putting on his coat and asks for a napkin and a pen. I'm shocked. I said I was busy and had to study, but she doesn't care. She grabs a pen from another table, scribbles her number with a heart on a napkin, and hands it to me right in front of him. Then she pulls up Facebook, shows me the picture we took, and asks me to add her so she can tag me. I told her no, that it wasn't appropriate. She didn't listen. Instead, she showed me her post, the picture of us, captioned, "Upgraded." She even shoved her phone at the guy and asked,
"Don't we look cute together?"
This poor man was barely holding it together at this point. I could almost hear his heart shatter right there and then. How could a woman be so cruel? I told her the post was inappropriate and misleading, and that she should take it down. That's when she snapped. She started screaming at me, swinging at me across the bar, and then hurled a cup at the wall. My bouncer had to step in and drag her outside to throw her in a cab. Meanwhile, the birthday guy was sitting at the bar, sobbing. I felt so bad for him. I paid his tab, handed him a couple of free passes to skip the line on busier nights, and apologized over and over. He told me he'd been having a rough time lately and hoped his 21st birthday would turn things around. He thought this girl might be the one and this date was going to seal the deal for them. What a turn of events for him. Imagine looking back on your 21st birthday and remembering that. Honestly, I still don't know if the girl was just a terrible person or completely oblivious. Probably both. Here's to hoping his 22nd involves fewer tears, less drama, and 0 flying cups.
Why are these women so rude to men who just want to take care of them? Humans, make it make sense. Here's another story of yet another woman tearing down a good guy for seriously petty reasons.
I work at a country club that stinks of old money. We're talking membership fees higher than a year at my university, and the kind of people who use their old money to make even more money. One evening, I'm serving a young couple, and the power imbalance between them is hard to miss. She's the daughter of one of the board members, so her family's loaded. Everyone on staff knows it. She walks around with that air of entitled brat, like everyone should bow down at her feet and kiss the floor she walks on. Very off-putting energy. The guy he, on the other hand, wasn't a member. Honestly, he looked like your average broke college student in plain but decent clothes, sitting across from her while she flaunted designer fashion like she stepped straight out of a magazine. The date seemed fine at first, nothing special to note. She was ordering up a storm. 2 bottles of top-shelf wine, neither finished, and 2 steaks, even though he politely tried to order the chicken. Nope, she insisted.
I'm going to stick with the baked chicken and broccoli.
No way, you gotta eat steak like a man.
But here's where it gets interesting. Just before I bring out the bill, she gets up and, seeming flustered and aggravated, leaves. Not a word, not a glance back, just gone. I walk over to him with the check, which comes to well over $300, and I see his face drop. He starts fumbling with his wallet, tearing up, apologizing to me because he wouldn't be able to tip.
Hey man, I'm so sorry. There's no way I can leave a tip on this bill.
I've never had a guest cry over a tip before.
I'm a waiter too. I hate it when guests don't tip, but man, I can't afford this meal. I told her I was here on a scholarship and didn't have the money to pay the bill.
He goes on to explain she had no idea he wasn't rich. Apparently, she walked out because of the scholarship. It hit me this guy got ditched for being honest about who he was. I was disgusted with this spoiled brat of a date. It was with almost giddy-like delight that I got to remind him that this was a country club. We don't take cash or credit cards. Everything gets charged to the member's account. Her account, or more specifically, her dad's account. So I took the bill to the front desk and rest assured her father signed off on a very generous tip in her name. His energy shifted and left the bar with a little pep in his step. I later heard through the grapevine that her dad found out the full story and cut her off financially. Something about teaching her life lessons.
Are all women this cruel and selfish? This AskReddit thread is making me lose hope for women. This last story, thankfully, is not about an entitled girl, but instead shows us this concept of chivalry being alive and well.
I've worked plenty of shifts where first dates ended in crying, flying ketchup ramekins, or just plain disaster. But this one stuck with me for a different reason. A guy came in one night, above average looks, clearly well put together, and mentioned he was waiting for his blind date. I gave him a smile and said I'd keep my fingers crossed. 30 minutes later, she walked in. To put it bluntly, she wasn't what he expected. She was about 120 pounds heavier than what most people would assume was his type. And, hate to say it, she wasn't winning anyone over with her looks. I caught an "oh well" kind of expression from him when she disappeared into the bathroom, but that's all. Once they sat down, though, I couldn't help but notice something unexpected. Every time I passed their table, they were smiling and chatting like old friends. Nothing awkward, no weird tension, just genuine conversation. I kept their glasses full, and the vibe stayed light and easy. At the end of the meal, he paid for everything, with no hesitation, and tipped generously. When they said their goodbyes, it all seemed so normal. I was curious. I had to know how this date went so well. After I wrapped up my shift, I caught up with him outside. "Hey man, how'd the date go?"
"It was good, thanks."
"She didn't seem like your type. Don't mean to pester, but you seeing her again?" He laughed and said,
"Not likely."
That's what I figured. But to be honest, I was kind of shocked to see y'all having such a good time. That's when he said something I'll never forget.
"That girl probably hasn't been on 3 dates where the guy actually paid and was genuinely nice. Why wouldn't I be a gentleman? My friends are schmucks for setting us up, but she did nothing wrong and deserves to be treated like a beauty every now and then."
It hit me right then. This guy didn't have to act like a decent human being, but he chose to. We don't get to pick the cards we're dealt. But what we can choose is how we treat each other. And that night, he chose kindness.
As I'm learning about human interaction, it gives me hope for humanity that so many men can be kind, even in such awkward circumstances. For now, we are wrapping up some shocking first date tales from AskReddit. We're a new channel and would love your support. Hit that subscribe button so you can keep following these relationship drama tales and help me make sense of humanity as we explore these stories together.